everyone, it's Missy, and today I'm going to be starting my seeds. We are in the last week of February, beginning of March, and so I want to get some flower seeds started for the pots that I'm going to be putting outside. The seeds, when you start them in an AeroGarden, when you start them hydroponic, they go a lot faster than if you start them in a regular flat. So about 2-4 weeks, and they are ready to be hardened off to go outdoors for planting and so forth. So I'm actually starting my seeds a lot later than I have in the past. But what I did is I bought the seed starting system for the Bounty model. Actually, it says on the box for extra, ultra, or Bounty models. And this one, I'm just going to open it up here so you can see it. This is the AeroGarden brand item, and this is the plastic tray. Now, the plastic tray comes for my model. I know some people have styrofoam ones. The styrofoam ones actually float in the water basin, and I believe this one just snaps on just like my tray that I have on there right now that came with my unit. So you got your instructions right on top, and then because this is brand new, they already put the plugs in here for you. If you can buy replacement plugs, that's not a problem. And this tray is reusable. So I'm just going to take that out. And then of course they give you a bottle of liquid plant food. I still have some left over from my lettuce garden that I did previous YouTube videos on. So I'm actually going to be using that one up first before I open up this one. But if you look on the side of the bottle, it does give you how much fluid you need to put in. Do not go by this when you are doing your seed starting system. You would give your plants too much food. So there's actually special instructions in the instruction booklet on how to do that. So as you can see, I got the 50 pod model for the seed starting system. If you had the smallest AeroGarden, you can do 15. The next size you could do 31, and the next size after that is 36. And then of course they have all the instructions, and we are going to go through and I'll show you how I'm going to set this up. Okay, if you remember from my last video, I did a segment on how I clean and sanitized my AeroGarden. For those of you who are using your AeroGarden for the first time, you don't have to worry about that, but mine's all set to go. So all I have to do now is remove the Gro deck, which is the standard deck that came with my model. So I'm just going to pop that off and set that off to the side. We won't be using that now that we have our new seed starting deck. And then the next item is to add water. You want to add distilled water, or if you have filtered tap water, that will work too. I live in the country, so I got well water, which has too many minerals and so forth, so I have to use distilled water. And you just want to add it all the way up to the fill to here mark. There's a mark in the bowl itself. I found out that my unit takes pretty much a gallon of water. And there we go. We're up to the fill to here mark. And I'll show you in the video. It's just this little gizmo right here. It says fill to here. As long as the water's just up to it or a little bit over it, you're fine. The next thing that I want to do is I actually want to remove this piece from the pump. This is the upper, the tube that kind of shoots the water up into the Gro deck. Probably should have removed it before I filled it with water because it's a little tricky to get out. There we go. Took a bit to slide off because I haven't taken it off before. But that's just so that way it doesn't get in the way of the trays for the seed starting kit. Now I'm just going to follow the instructions, and what it says to do now is to insert your seed starting deck. There's no seeds in here, I'm just inserting the deck right into the unit, just like that. And I didn't do anything, I didn't do any pre-soaking or anything. But now we're just going to let it sit for 24 hours, and we're going to do this to allow the peat to soak up a lot of the water. And then once you have it soaked for 24 hours, you're ready to plant your seeds. So I'll come back tomorrow and I'll show you that step. It's been 24 hours and the peat has soaked up the water very well. I touched the surface and it's damp, just like it's supposed to be. Now in this box, I forgot to mention, there's this tray that came underneath the seed deck. And this is what I'm going to be setting the seed deck in. And I'm just going to take this out because we're going to have to add more water and nutrients into the bowl. So I'm just going to put it in the plastic tray, move it over to the side here. And from there, we are ready to plant our seeds. So like I said earlier, I'm going to be planting some flowers. I have some Coleus, I have some Calabrachia, and I have some Lysianthus. And to do it, you can just take, it says to grow about, or put 2 to 3 seeds in each pod because you want to make sure that they sprout. Now these flower seeds I'm using are really small, so I'm just going to drop them in with my fingers. If you're using big seeds, you can use tweezers to make sure that the seeds get down into the hole. If you have really big seeds, like pumpkin seeds for instance, you're going to want to cut the peat open with the scissors in order to shove your seed down into the hole, because these holes are pretty small. So, just got a few more. And then that's my row. On the instruction sheet that came with the unit, they give you kind of a diagram on here where you can actually write in where you put each plant. And I highly recommend that you write down somewhere where you have, this is the one I think, yep, this is the 50 pod grow deck. So you can write it in the white circles, or you can make a copy of this because I'm sure you're going to use your seed starter deck more than once. Then to just keep track, or you can put some tape along here and write down what you put in each row. But I'm going to finish adding my seeds into the pods and then I'll show you what you do next. So I finished planting my seeds into the individual peat pods here, and now I'm going to take my liquid plant food and we're going to add the food before we replace the tray. And this is just, this bottle's already been opened from my lettuce garden. This is how much I had left. So I used about half of the bottle. And so I'm just going to finish this off before I open up a new one. Now, it's important to know that you use only half the amount listed to feed your seed starting system. So being I have the 9-pod model, instead of putting in 2 capfuls at startup, I'm only going to put in 1 capful. And just put that right in there. And you're only going to use half the amount listed for your nutrients all the way through the growing system. So I'll be adding 1 capful every 2 weeks. Our water level is still good. If your water level has dropped significantly, make sure that you fill the water to the fill to here mark. Otherwise, you're ready to put your seed starting tray, however they want to call it, back into the garden. Just going to make sure that my cord is in the right slot. There we go. Okay, so now everything is back the way it should be, so I'm ready to plug in my unit. Alright, now if you've used your unit before, it's going to ask you, did my power go off or start new garden? I'm going to start a new garden. And this is going to be our quick plant guide. So I'm going to click next. The clock, you can change this to say, I think I had mine start at 6 a.m. on the last garden. Oops. There we go. Now we can choose our quick plant guide setup. I'm going to do seed starting. And it just says the AeroGarden is perfect for starting seeds indoors and transplanting to an outdoor garden or containers. You can use Grow Anything kits or our seed starting system accessories to start up to 50 seedlings in your AeroGarden with perfect light, water, and nutrients. Quick Plant automatically optimizes garden settings for your seedlings. And then it says to optimize seed starting system, growth lights will be on 18.5 hours per day. So I'm going to click next. So let's see if I can change this. So I'm doing 5 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. There we go. Now the light is on. Also, it's important to know on the Bounty, I do have the seed starting thing that I can select. If you are using an Ultra or Harvest or some other unit that might not have the seed starting, you should select herbs. So, yeah, okay, and then it says if your AeroGarden has a 24-hour light option, you can also use that. And that's used for the first 3 to 4 weeks, but that's pretty much it. I mean, I'll just put settings correct. And that's it for setting clocks and lights. Now let's plant your garden, just 3 easy steps, which is just to add water, which we did, add our seeds, which we did, add our fertilizer, which we did. Okay, congratulations, your AeroGarden is now ready to grow. Press OK to start your AeroGarden. Note, your pump will run 1 hour every 12 hours when in germination mode. After 2 weeks, it shifts automatically to a pump cycle that will maximize growth for your plant type. So we clicked OK. All of our settings have readjusted. We have our light settings, water level is OK, and our nutrients will add again in 14 days because we just added them right now. And our days planted is 0. So that's pretty much it. There's not too much left to do, but to wait and see if our seeds germinate. And if I'm hoping that the Lysianthus does, that's like the first new type of seed I've ever tried, and I heard it's pretty hard to get to germinate. The difference that I noticed on this seed starting deck is that there's no way to flip up a little corner piece like in the regular grow deck that came with it to add fertilizer. So I'm going to keep my plastic tray, this unit, handy because I'll have to take this tray out to add the fertilizer. There's also a little note here for a tip that we should change the water out every 2 weeks. So before I need to add nutrients, I should drain the unit of all the water that's in there, add fresh water, and then add new nutrients. And I'll show you that later in the video when we get to 2 weeks. Otherwise, I'm hoping I can give you a few updates and show you how well this system works. As you can see, I have my AeroGarden here, and it's set flashing red that I need to add nutrients. And when we add nutrients to our seed starting system, we have to drain the water and then refill the water reservoir. And you can hear the pump going. It hit its hour or so for recirculation, but I just wanted to show you the plants. So the ones in the second row here, that's the Calabrachia or Calabrotia. I've heard some people pronounce it. Like I said, I don't know how to pronounce everything correctly, but these ones popped up within 2 days. And these are seed capsules, so I'm supposed to have multiple colors in one capsule, and I'm supposed to plant this in the center of a 12-inch pot, and they're supposed to cascade out and be like a floral arrangement or a potted arrangement all in one. So I was very excited to see that all 5 of those are now up. Another one that you could maybe see, maybe not see, it's really hard, is the Leucanthus. They have sprouted, they're just way down deep in the hole, and I can see these green leaves. And they have a long ways to go to grow up here. The seeds are really small and they kind of fell more towards the bottom, but they did sprout and they are growing. And then the Coleus hasn't done anything yet, and I was kind of shocked because Coleus is actually one of the plants that you can, or one of the pods I should say, that you can buy for your AeroGarden. So it's kind of interesting to see that all these other plants that I didn't know if they would work in the AeroGarden are growing, and they're growing well. And the one that was with the AeroGarden, it hasn't started in my seed starting system yet. But it's only been 7 days. It may take a little while longer, I'm not sure. I'm going to get you guys over on the stand, and I'm going to show you what we do when we change out the water. And I notice that my battery's getting kind of low, so I'm hoping I can do this quickly. But you can hear the pump running. There's actually a cord in the back here, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull that cord, and that shuts the power off to the pump, so I don't have to worry about burning out my pump, which is very important. But the light can still run. I have my plastic tray, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put that down in front. I'm going to back you guys up too, so that way you can kind of see a little bit of this. I'm just going to take my tray, lift it out. You can see the root growth already starting on some of the plants. So I'm going to put that down, move that off to the side, which gets me to the water reservoir. And you can see that the water isn't low enough for it to say that I need to add water to the fill here mark, but it has decreased a bit. So I have an ice cream pail, and I have this siphon, the AeroGarden siphon. Now you probably have seen this on one of my other segments. I could not get this to work properly, even though I really wanted it to work. And I found out there's a little dial on top here that I don't think I had in the right position. So I'm just setting up a chair because I want my bucket to be lower than the AeroGarden. Trying to see, I'll put this off to the side. So I'm just putting my ice cream pail down on this chair if I can. Alright. And then you can also take this and just dump it out in your sink. And I'm just not in a room where there's access to a sink at the moment, so there. So I'm just going to take, I have to really watch it because I'm really stretching. You know, I still can't get this siphon to work. So no, it works for a little bit and then it drops off. Move you guys over so you can see. So all I'm doing is I'm just taking and pumping the bulb. And you're only supposed to pump it a few pumps, and I believe it's just supposed to... Now I'm getting water all over because I'm really stretching across the table and down to the chair. I'll show you guys. It's going way back here, right down to the chair. So, but anyway, so I'll just siphon out the water. Then I'll show you guys when I get this dumped what you do next. Okay, so I got my bowl emptied, and then I filled it with fresh, clean, distilled water at the fill to here mark. And then I am going to add my nutrients. Again, I'm adding my nutrients at half the rate is what it says on the bottle. So I'm just going to pour in my one. It's kind more than a half. There we go. And I'm all set to put my tray back in. I can just lift this out. Set it right back on top here. Cords in, and then the final thing that I have to do is just plug in my power cord. There we go. And you want to keep your light at the lowest point. I just raised it so I could get the water in there. And there you have it. That's how you refill your AeroGarden, and you do this once every 2 weeks at a minimum. For me, it's been the 14 days, like I said, so it shows like add nutrients, and all I have to do now is click here, say nutrients were added, and it resets the clock, and everything is good to go. Hi everyone, it's Missy. It's been now 4 weeks or 28 days since I first started the seed starting system. And as you can see, I need to add fertilizer. The water level's also getting low. And you can see the plants. So my Lisianthus is finally starting to poke up through the holes. This really takes a long time to grow, so I'm really happy to see that there are so many plants that are poking up. This is my Calabrachia, and as you can see, it is ready to be taken out of here. It's actually starting to shade the other plants and it's starting to branch out. And these are all very healthy plants in this row. And then my Coleus never did sprout, which I'm kind of shocked because the AeroGarden, Miracle-Gro AeroGarden sells Coleus pods. So I thought that would be a sure bet that that one would work, whereas they don't sell Lisianthus or Calabrachia, so I thought, well, those would just be experimental. So I don't know if it's just because of the seed that I have or what the deal is there, but what I'm going to do before I change the water and the fertilizer, because it's been another 2 weeks and these plants still need to grow a little bit bigger before I transplant them out of the system, I will be taking these out. And how you do that is, well, I should tell you, I'm putting them in a pot with the potting soil in there. These aren't going to go outside, therefore I haven't outside yet. That's why I haven't hardened them off. But you're supposed to just be able to grab the plant gingerly by the stem. I'm going to pull this up and out very carefully because I don't want to wreck those roots. I want them to grow, and as you can see, look at the root growth. That is a lot of root growth. Just trying to be very careful. Want to keep all these roots intact. Okay, it's dripping a little. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to dig a hole with my hands and just plant them. I should probably dig a hole better than that. There, try to get you so that way you guys can kind of see. So I'm just going to move the soil to the side, stick the plant in there at ground level, or soil level, just move the dirt in, like so. Then I got a watering can. So I'll just water this, and I am good to go. So that is how easy it is. Now you can see that I did pull up some roots from the next plant. I'm going to shove those down. There we go. Back into the water. Now you don't want an open hole because this light is going to penetrate the water, fertilizer mixture, and you're going to have a pile of algae in there. So what I use is black electrical tape. There's no caps I can buy that go over these holes like in the Grow deck that originally comes with the AeroGarden. So I just need to take a piece of this tape and then I might need more than one. You just cover over the top of the hole. And that should allow the light to not penetrate. It shouldn't penetrate anyway, and this will allow the rest of the plants to kind of catch up. As for these other plugs where the seeds didn't germinate, I'm just going to leave those alone and leave them in there so that way they keep the hole filled. And I don't think I can reuse those plugs. You can see I got some mold growth on the top. I had another family member watch this when I was gone for a while, and they thought you had to water it from the top, not realizing that it pulls water from the bottom. When I said you have to watch the water level, you need to add the water into the basin. So for those of you who have house sitters or plant sitters, you have to watch that. So, but other than that, that's how I do it. Cover the hole. I'm going to transplant the rest of these out of here. And that should basically sum up the video. If you want to learn how to sanitize your AeroGarden, there are instructions with the seed starting system. And I actually made a separate video. And you sanitize your AeroGarden the same way as you do if you use a grow deck with the seed pods and so forth. So this is it, and I think what I'll do is after this is all done, I'll be sanitizing it and I'm going to start vegetables in there. And I think what I'll do is just do a mini video to show you how the vegetables are turning out. Like I said, it was great for starting these calabraccia and all my flowers that I'm actually going to be putting in pots and around my yard. This would also be great if you want to transplant the flowers outside. But I was disappointed that the Coleus didn't work out. But I'm also ecstatic that you can put a lot of different flowers in here that AeroGarden doesn't have on their list, and they still work out great, especially the calabraccia. So, and I think with the vegetables too, I'll also be using this plastic tray more, so that way I can bring these plants outside to harden off, because when I do my vegetables, I want to plant them outside immediately when they're ready to go. But if you have any questions, please leave me a comment below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Bye.